This is gonna sound like I am on drugs, but I promise I'm not. Mostly. Anyway.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Your girl Candy's here, and today we're going to be looking at a clip of a woman who thinks because Great Danes and Chihuahuas are both dogs, that means that she's genetically programmed to be fat. We also have, which is rare, the male version of fat positivity. You don't see that very often, and I've never seen this guy before, so let's get into him. And then at the very end, we have the ever lovely skinny dietitian who is going to be telling us that the BMI is bull. And I agree with her, but not for the reasons that she thinks. So stay tuned for that. You know that I love you. You know that if it was just you and I here, that how much I would like that. But YouTube doesn't like that. YouTube wants you to bring your friends into it. So give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But give me a thumbs up so that all of your friends can see this video. All right, let's get into the first one. Our first clip is by a creator named Sugar Bumps. So I like her right off the bat. What's not to love about sugar, except for what it does to our bodies, but that aside. So let's listen to what Sugar Bumps has to say.
This is gonna sound like I am on drugs, but I promise I'm not. Mostly. Anyway. Okay, I have a thought, and I just left the doctor, and I need somebody to think this through with me, okay? It doesn't make sense, okay, dogs are dogs, right? If you have a Great Dane and you have a Chihuahua, they're both dogs, right? But genetically, they're different. They're gonna look different, like medically, they're different, okay? Stay with me.
Yeah, I have a Chihuahua and I have a friend who has a Great Dane, and they are different. That's true. So far, I can agree with her that Chihuahuas and Great Danes are different. Not sure how that equates to people, but let's see what she has to say.
Birds are birds, right? Like if you have a hawk and you have a sparrow, I don't know, birds, a flamingo. Flamingos and hawks, they look different, right? Genetically, they're different, but they're birds, okay?
Well, here's where she doesn't understand genetics. Birds are birds. They're in a category, but they're different species. Actually, birds are different species. They're not like dogs. Okay, you can, I suppose, you could breed a Chihuahua and a Great Dane. I'm curious to know if that's ever been done. If you know, let me know in the comments. But dogs are one species and you can breed them together. Birds are not one species. That's a category. So just like canines, that's where she's not understanding. Dogs are canines, but they are a species of a canine. And Chihuahuas and Great Danes fall under the same species, even though they look dramatically different. A hawk and a flamingo are different species and you can't breed them. So she's not understanding genetics right off the bat.
Okay? People. Genetically, people are different, right? Like, genetically, certain people are predisposed to things: diabetes, heart disease, colon cancer, right? Sickle cell.
Okay, sickle cell is an inherited disease that you have from the day that you're born. That's different than colon cancer. That's different from at least type 2 diabetes. There's not really, you're not born with type 2 diabetes and you're not born with colon cancer, even if you're predisposed to them. My mother died when I was young of colon cancer. She was very young. She was diagnosed with colon cancer when she was 40 and she died just a couple of years later. She is from Jewish ancestry, and so she was more predisposed to colon cancer, but it's not your destination. It doesn't always happen. There are certain genes that make it much more likely, and you should be screened, but that's completely different. And type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition that I don't know that there's a genetic component to it, but you're not automatically born with it. And type 2 diabetes is mostly under your own control. So again, she's not quite understanding that, but let's go on.
There are things that when you're pregnant, based on the parents' genetics, that they test for, because genetically the baby's more likely to have one of these things, right? Okay. Right, but we're all people, but we know that genetically we're different. But we have one chart that says how fat we're supposed to be, right? Like, we know genetically we're all different makeups. We're all still people, but we know genetically we have all of these different things. But also, if we are 6 foot tall, we are supposed to weigh 180 pounds only.
No, that's not true. The BMI, which I'm not a big fan of, it's great for overall populations, but for the person, it doesn't say much. And we're going to go into that more at the end, but she's wrong on that. The BMI actually gives you a range. It doesn't say that if you're 6 foot tall that you're supposed to weigh 180 pounds. It actually is a sliding scale. So they have a low end and a high end. So she's wrong about that. It doesn't say that.
Period, the end, or you're a fat fuck. And maybe I'm trying to make myself feel better after leaving the doctor.
Yeah, I think you're trying to make yourself feel better. I know, because I do it too.
With these shower thoughts, but it doesn't sit right with me. I need somebody to explain to me how that makes sense. And that's all. Okay, bye.
I like this lady a lot. She seems like a lot of fun. And if I'm not mistaken, it seems like that maybe she had bariatric surgery. So she wanted an explanation. So I'm going to give her a short explanation. Let's forget about the birds because they don't count. But let's talk about Chihuahuas and Great Danes. The reason that we have different weights for a Chihuahua, they should weigh between like 2 and 6 pounds, and a Great Dane who might weigh 100 or more pounds, is because of their bone structure. It doesn't have that much to do with their fatness or obesity. You would compare a Chihuahua to a Chihuahua because of their little bone structure, and a Great Dane to a Great Dane. And really, that's what the BMI chart does. The BMI chart gives you a height on one side, and then there's a sliding scale of weights. Okay, I am 5'3", so my BMI, I believe, is on the low end 115 or 117 to 141. And that accounts for people that have bigger bones, muscle like I do, and other factors. So that's really quite a range, 115 to 141. Now I'm going to talk about the BMI, later, more what I think about it. But it's not complete trash. It's just there's some problems with it. There are some problems. So I'll give her that. There are some problems with it, but she's making some false equivalencies. But she's so sweet. I really liked this creator. If you know of her, let me know if if she actually did get bariatric surgery. But that's the explanation for why you can't compare Chihuahuas and Great Danes to human beings, and the rest is for the birds. Our next clip is from Jay Salazar. He's a really popular TikToker. He's got like almost 750,000 followers. I don't know who he is. I've not seen him covered on any other channels. So I don't know if he's always doing body positivity stuff or fat acceptance, but he's going to be talking about the ever-present medical fat phobia. So let's see what he has to say.
I was so used to doctors telling me you have to lose weight for almost 30 years.
Well, if you've had this many doctors telling you that you've needed to lose weight for 30 years, I don't know, maybe I'd listen.
Regardless of why I was there, whether it was a checkup, whether it was my ankle, whether it was a sinus infection, you have to lose weight. I was used to that.
Well, you hear these fat influencers say this, that every time they go to the doctor, no matter what, even if it's for a sinus infection, their doctor is telling them to lose weight. I'm not calling him a liar. I don't know his experience. Maybe that has happened to him, but I have had some very obese family members. Obesity runs in my family like you can't believe. In fact, my son was very overweight, 100 or more pounds overweight when he was younger. And I was always discouraged because his doctors never brought it up to him. I think they're scared to now. So I think it's the opposite. I don't think doctors are being honest and telling people when they need to lose weight. So, but I don't know, maybe his experience is different than my son's.
Obviously, I was used to that. So much so that when I went to a back specialist because I had really, really bad back problems to the point where I couldn't stand, couldn't walk, couldn't lay down, couldn't drive, couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I feel you, buddy. I've been there.
I went to a back specialist, and the first thing that I said, without even speaking to the doctor, I said, Doc, I know I have to lose weight. I know, because that's what I've been trained to think. That's how I've been conditioned to think. It was, they were going to say wait indefinitely because they always have, right? And the back specialist, the back surgeon was like, hey, I didn't mention your weight at all. How would I even know that? We have to get you tested. We have to get an MRI, get an x-ray, and do all these things. And suddenly, for the first time ever, it was a doctor who was like, I'm trying to help you. She even said, I don't even want to recommend surgery because who knows, maybe physical therapy would help. Maybe you can feel better and not lose a pound. Maybe.
Well, losing weight will always help a back problem, even if it's something that has to be corrected by surgery. And there is not any instance where extra weight is helpful for a back problem. I've never seen that.
You will lose all this weight and you'll still feel pain. So why am I going to tell you to lose weight if you might not feel better after losing weight? I'm not going to do that. So guess what the doctor did? She said, I'm not going to cut. I'm going to recommend you to physical therapy. I did physical therapy for about 3 months, maybe 2 to 4 months. I don't know. But I was virtually pain-free without losing a single pound. Doctors like that exist. I didn't know.
Well, I'm glad that it helped him. I'm glad it worked out for him. But I do have to say something. If physical therapy is what helped him get pain free, then my thought is that probably is because his body, the muscles that surround his spine, weren't strong enough to protect his spine from his weight. So he had to get stronger in physical therapy so that he could develop the muscles that will help his spine be able to protect itself. Because your spine, think about it, you don't have any bones there. From your rib cage to your pelvis, there's no bones. It's all muscle. And when you have a lot of fat on top of that, a lot of weight, it will pull. It will pull those muscles. And when they're weak, that's how you end up with back pain. So they probably really strengthen those muscles up. But I'm just thinking that if you lost weight too, that it would make that such an easier process. I don't think that extra weight is ever helpful when you have back problems, even if being weak is the cause, even if you have some other disc problem that you need surgery on. So, I'm glad he feels better, but I'm thinking that he doesn't quite understand why he feels better. It's because he got stronger. He was too weak and overweight. And I just think, sorry, Jay, I just think losing weight will help you in the long run. All right, our last one. We're going to see a skinny dietitian tell us that the BMI is BS. Our last clip is from a non-diet dietitian. Of course, she looks thin to me. A lot of them are. I have a whole video that I'll link above about skinny dietitians telling us just to stay fat. I always appreciate that. So she's a registered dietitian, and she's going to give us a really hot take here. So let's hear what she has to say.
What's something you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud?
Well, she never said it out loud. She just pointed to a little thing that says the BMI is bull. And I agree with her. She's right. The BMI is bull for an individual, not, like I said, for the whole population. But it's not for the reasons that she thinks. She doesn't say why she thinks it's bull, but if I had to guess, she's going to say, well, because it doesn't work for people that have a lot of muscle like I do or other people that I know. Or if you carry your weight in your hips, because it's been proven that that kind of fat that you carry in your hips and thighs is not dangerous like belly fat is. So she's going to say, well, someone could have very, very big thighs and the BMI, even though they're over, they're still going to be healthy. That's all true. That's why it doesn't work very well for, the individual you don't know. However, that isn't the only reason why the BMI is bull. And it's not even the main reason. Number one, very few people are so muscular that it tosses them into the overweight or obese category. Yes, those people do exist, but they're really, really rare. Even myself, like I said earlier, I have quite a bit of muscle, but that's not the reason why I'm a little bit over a healthy BMI. It's because I eat too much and I need to lose a little weight. The real reason why the BMI is bull is because I think it underestimates obesity. It underestimates it. You could have somebody that is at a perfect BMI and they could be obese by having a high percentage of body fat, which is dangerous. Low muscle mass and high body fat, and you can still be underweight. And you can have a waist measurement that's dangerous. You can have, if a woman has a waist measurement of over 35 or a man over 40, that is at a high risk of cancer and diabetes and heart disease. You can still have a weight that the BMI that shows that you have a good BMI, but you could still have a dangerous amount of belly fat with skinny arms and skinny legs. In the whole population, if you did fat to muscle ratios, I think that you would have more like 80 to 85% of Americans obese or overweight. So that's why I think it's bull. And I think that she probably doesn't think that. I'm thinking she thinks it's for the other reason. Okay, that's it for today. Please give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, I would appreciate that. And I will see you next time.